Hello and welcome again to this edition of Capital Dateline. I'm your host, Brad Swanson. We're coming to you just a few blocks from Florida's capital. I am joined today by Director Proctor, head of the Department of Economic Opportunity for the state of Florida. Welcome, Director Proctor.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
We're excited for you to be here. Economic development is so important to the state. Our business community here thrives, but your department has been at the forefront of marketing and selling Florida and helping the businesses that are here. So if you would, for our viewers, tell us a little bit about the current department. It used to be made in other forms in previous governors, but where is it now? Where did it come from? And let's just start there.
Sure, absolutely. So currently we are one agency, the Department of Economic Opportunity, that focuses on economic, workforce, and community development. When the governor first came into office, he worked with the legislature in 2011 to create the agency. Okay. Before we were created, we were three separate organizations. Okay. So we were the old Department of Community Affairs that worked with growth management, land use issues, the old Agency for Workforce Innovation, which was basically the Department of Labor, and the old Office of Tourism, Trade, and Economic Development, or OTED, which sat in the governor's office. Right. So those three organizations were broken up and brought into one agency. So currently we have three main core divisions that do the same functions that were done by those organizations in concept. And so we've got what is typically thought of as a Department of Labor. We do a lot of workforce training issues. We work with Career Source Florida as one of our very important partners in that field. And we also run the Reemployment Assistance Program, which that program provides assistance to people who—
This is your job training in your local community, and you're managing kind of the back office of that gets deployed by Career Source.
Absolutely, but we also provide benefits to folks who lose their job through no fault of their own. And so we run what in other states is known as the Unemployment Compensation or Unemployment Insurance Program. In Florida, we call it Reemployment Assistance because the focus is on getting back to work, not on being out of work.
And there's training requirements involved with that.
Absolutely, so there's training requirements involved in that. So that's kind of what would typically be thought of Department of Labor piece of it. We also have our Division of Community Development, which does a lot of land use and growth management issues as well. In 2011, when the agency was created, a lot of the functions of the old Department of Community Affairs were pushed back down to the locals, with the idea that the local governments, local communities really know what they need and how they want to develop best. And so our function really in that world is to do a lot of technical assistance. We provide a lot of grant funding to rural and small cities. We work hand in hand with HUD from the federal level.
Now, would these be on downtown redevelopments, or would this be a rural new construction or a rural business hub? Is it just across that kind of a spectrum?
It is across the spectrum, but our focus really is on, for a lot of the grant programs, is on those small cities and rural communities, but we also have programs that help communities of all sizes. And then we also have the Division of Strategic Business Development, which does a lot of the traditional economic development programs. We work with Enterprise Florida on business development, on recruitment, on international trade, and on marketing our state as the best place to do business. We work with Visit Florida to continue to bring more tourists to our state, make sure that we have the marketing dollars that we need there to continue to support the best known brand in the world for tourism and bring those tourists to our state. We also work with Space Florida to continue to commercialize the Space Coast as more and more private companies come into the world, like SpaceX and Blue Origin, OneWeb, which we just broke ground on their new satellite manufacturing facility. We also work with a lot of other organizations. We do work with the Ports Council. We do work with Department of Transportation. It takes a lot of folks together to make sure that we are continuing to grow our state and grow our economy.
Well, those topics are so big, and sometimes, the new observer to those would say, that looks like, it's big, but how does a program like that in the space program, right? It's exciting. We all think of Star Wars and, we're shooting off rockets, but how does that affect a community like, say, Melbourne, that's right there by the Space Coast, or a small business owner that's in that area? How does that hit your average Floridian?
So we know that the space industry really is being commercialized. We know that when the shuttle no longer launches, right? There is NASA still is very active on the Cape, but there is a lot of infrastructure that's no longer used because of the shuttle program no longer being active. And so the idea was, how do we take all that infrastructure and make it available for the private industry that's really now thriving? And that large industry needs a lot of local vendors, needs a lot of support around it to make sure that they're productive. So if you bring in, for instance, the SpaceX who is now launching off the Cape and has just relaunched one of the rockets that has been launched.
Super smart people with high-paying jobs, right?
Lots of high-paying jobs and lots of jobs and a lot of really the high-tech industry that is incredibly important to our diversification as a state.
Right.
And so what we do is we work with those companies, we work with Space Florida to make sure that infrastructure is available for those companies that want to come in and use it in a new and different way. So a lot of times we have to work with NASA, we have to work with the Air Force, we have to work with all kinds of organizations as kind of a catalyst to make sure that those deals are done and the land is there, for instance, for them to build their new facilities. It just takes a lot of people moving in the same direction, really with the same goal of moving our economy forward to make sure that those kind of deals happen.
Right.
But it takes a lot of small businesses to continue to have those organizations and those companies be successful as well.
Right.
Because they need to buy their supplies from places. They also need to go to lunch. And so it's not only what they need for their manufacturing, but also bringing that many new employees and that many new jobs to a community does for that community. When the shuttle program shut down, it was 9,000 jobs that were lost. And we're gaining those back. And so, and exceeding it. And we're doing it in a really, really cool way.
Well, that's so exciting. So we think of like this super exciting industry like space, right? But you mentioned the word diversification, the diversification of the economy. Now all of us that were born here and raised in Florida, we were raised knowing that, well, for sure we're a tourism economy, for sure there's a lot of construction going on. And if you go anywhere inland, huge agricultural base, kind of the three legs of Florida's stool. But that diversification conversation definitely has had a huge focus over the last 20 years. What other industries does the Department of Economic Opportunity look at beyond space? Like, tell us, are we talking military, veterans? What are we looking at?
So what we know is that Florida was hit by the recession sooner than the rest of the country, harder than the rest of the country, and it lasted longer.
Right.
So coming out of the recession, we knew in Florida, with the leadership of our governor, that we had to do things differently. One of the things he did was create the agency, and what we do is we assist with the growth of our economy in Florida, the growth of our jobs.
Pretty good so far. What's your job count right now?
So we're up to over 1,346,000 private sector jobs that have been created since the governor
that's
came.
net new, brand new jobs. Okay.
New jobs.
Okay. So sorry, I took you off your topic.
That's
Let's
okay.
go back
That's
in.
okay.
So we're looking at this diversification.
Yes.
So the governor comes in.
He comes in. We know that we have to do things differently, and one of those things we have to do is we have to diversify our economy. We need to continue to support tourism. We need to continue to support agriculture, and we need to continue to grow the economy so those construction jobs stay in our state and continue to grow.
Right.
Without growth, you don't need construction, right? So, but we know we need to diversify past that, like you said. So we focus on, we have a list of targeted industries, and the industries on the list includes everything from corporate headquarters, which is important to have, for instance, Fortune 500 companies that decide they want to have Florida as their home, to manufacturing. And that advanced manufacturing is everything from the Space Coast projects that we just talked about to Embraer.
And agriculture. I was talking with Commissioner Putnam, and he said that those very same targeted industries are applying to those traditional industries as well. So you're seeing overlap there.
Absolutely.
That's cool. All right.
And financial services is a big one as well.
Right.
So you see the industries that have been, or the industry in Pensacola, for instance. You've got Navy Federal that's come in, and they have committed to 10,000 jobs in that area, which is incredible for the veterans, for the military that you were talking about, because you've got a lot of people who want to live in Florida. They say, why wouldn't I want to live where people get to vacation? It's a great place to be. But but they have to be able to find a job.
Right.
And if they're able to find a job, if they're coming out of the military in a community where there are a lot of other military families, it's really, it's important. That's very important to them, and we know that, and we hear that a lot.
Right.
And so growing companies in those areas where they can come in and they can find good jobs, not only in the Navy Federal, because there's 10,000 jobs created there, but think of all the ancillary jobs that are created around that. Again, you've got everything from the service industry that is booming because of all those 10,000 new jobs, to all the construction that's occurring, to all the other support services that are happening because of that move.
Well, we know in our industry, in the cable telecommunications industry, we work with Veterans Florida, and they work through your department on a grant to train veterans to work and get the training so that they can go to work for our member companies. I mean, it's pretty neat to see that veteran piece, and obviously they're the first ones on the top of everyone's list to make sure that you've got a great home and an opportunity for them. So
yeah, it's very, very important.
That's exciting. Okay,
yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the tourism component, right? And you obviously have a nexus to Visit Florida. You know, where are the jobs coming from within the tourism space as this market is blowing up? The economy's coming back. People once again want to get out on the road and come back to Florida. What's that looking like, and how does your department, kind of look at growing those jobs as well?
So we know that we in Florida right now are growing jobs in across so many different sectors, and with a strong economy and with an investment in our tourism industry and in Visit Florida. Last year, Florida welcomed almost 113 million visitors. So what that means is that you have to have jobs in the communities where those folks go.
Are you talking about just coming in from America or globally?
All over the world.
Okay.
All over the world. So we have that many tourists that come to our state, and every year and every quarter we continue to break records, because Florida really is a great place to visit, and we remind them of that every day with our strong marketing.
Now, how does that compare to other states, right? We're breaking records. Is every state in the country breaking records?
Not every state's breaking records. So, we're seeing the states that are doing a lot of investing as those that are really booming at this point, especially in the tourism industry. I see when I'm home watching TV.
Right. Good. We like that. We like that.
I wanted to throw that plug in.
Right, good.
Watching cable or watching, one of the streaming services, whatever that is.
Right. Of course. Right. This show,
of course. That you see ads from Utah, from California, from Texas, and from countries all over the world.
Right.
So they are coming into our market, where people live and work and are visiting the Florida market and saying, you should come to our state. We need to continue to remind those same folks that Florida is the place they should come if they want to go to the beach, they want to go to an amusement park. And that's what we do every single day. Right. But you've got to have the industry and the jobs that support those tourists. If there's no one to rent you a car at the airport, how are you going to rent a car? Right. If there's no one at the restaurant that's serving lunch, what are you going to do? If there's nobody, even on the beach who's renting, wave runners or whatever it may be, those service jobs are incredibly important. And a lot of what we know is that a lot of service jobs support people when they first, that's their first job. So my first job was in the service industry. Right. A lot of people's is. But a lot of times you move up from there, and there's a lot of opportunity in that industry. And we know there's a lot of jobs. Right. It's one of the top 5 sectors.
A lot of computer processors, programmers at Universal Studios, Disney, all of the other cruise lines, and everything else in Florida. So.
Absolutely. Okay. So it's from jobs that you think of, like some of that I just mentioned, to all up to the high tech world.
Right.
I was just at Magic Kingdom this weekend, and what it takes to make that theme park and that organization run like it does is incredible. It takes a lot of very, very smart people to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Universal too.
Universal, yeah, absolutely. But there's a lot of so every time we have what we know now is about every 76 visitors creates a job. Right. And those jobs aren't just in the service industry. It's split 50-50 between the service industry and those industries that support that. So accounting and you name it, all the other jobs that have to support that industry. So we need more tourists to come in to create more jobs and also support those jobs that are here. Okay,
so let's talk about you becoming the director of this. How long have you been in the role?
So since January of last year.
Okay, so you've been there for a while,
yeah.
but as the director of this agency, what is your hope to plant on the agency to push it to the next level or to take it into this next century?
So what we have right now is an organization that really is forward-facing, which is incredibly important. We know that we need to be helping communities. We need to be helping businesses. We need to be helping organizations of all types understand how we as government can help and partner. For instance, if a community reaches out to us and says that they got a business that's looking at coming to their area, but they need to know if there's some grants that can help with infrastructure needs, for instance. We need to be going to those communities, outreaching to those communities to let them know, here are the certain things that may be available, or if there's nothing available at our agency, let's talk about what may be available at other organizations. So we really do take the role of being forward-facing and really helping Floridians and communities and businesses all over the state grow. We take that very seriously, and that's what I think is really important about our role at the agency, because we have the ability to look holistically across the economic, community, and workforce programs, as well as working with everyone from the business side to the employee side. And so we've got a really wide breadth of vision and understanding about what's going on in Florida. And not only can we help specific communities, but we can share best practices with those communities too.
All right, so I'm an employee, I'm a business owner, or I'm a community leader. Where do I go to start my conversation with your department?
So it may depend. So say you're a business and you're looking to, you are currently located in Georgia and you're looking to come to Florida. Enterprise Florida is who you reach out to.
Okay.
And Enterprise Florida is the door that you would go through to really understand what's available in Florida for a business.
Okay.
And depending on your size, depending on what you're looking to do, are you moving a headquarters?
Okay.
Are you a manufacturing facility? Are you looking to be in North Florida? Or are you looking to be in the Miami area?
Right.
And then Enterprise Florida would really assist you as a company to understand what sites may be available, what the best locations may be. Because it's their job to know Florida is really the product that they have to know everything about and all the different locations. And to do that, they have to work with economic development organizations on the ground. They have to work with community leaders.
Right.
They have to work with our rural areas of opportunity and organizations of all shape and size to make sure that we as Florida, through Enterprise Florida, provide you as the business leader and owner that wants to move to Florida. We want to provide you with the best service we can.
Okay.
Say you're a community, say you're a small business and you're located in Destin, and tourism really is your world, and you want to be able to market better. You would reach out to Visit Florida.
Got it.
And so you Visit Florida through, usually there's a local tourism industry leader as well, can help with cooperative purchasing to take your organization and your business to the next level, because they can spread the dollars even further, because they have so many people that are buying into the ads that they do. If you're a community and you are a rural community and you want to find out about some of the grants we have, you can reach out directly to our organization. And you would
straight to the department.
Straight to the department, because you can call us, our division directors and the folks that run those programs. We're out in the community every day, so you would know who to call because we've met with you before. You've seen us do presentations before on the programs we've run, or through brochures that we provide or information we provide all over Florida about what programs we've got, so you know who to contact.
Okay. Last question, right? I've got a family member. They want to retrain. They want to change their career. They want a job in Florida. Where do they go?
So CareerSource Florida is one of our great partners as well. CareerSource Florida is a statewide organization with, we've got over 20 regions all across the state that run around 100 kind of on-the-ground career centers where folks can go get retraining, they can get assistance with writing their resume, they can understand kind of what jobs are available.
Kind of a one-stop shop
for
job hunting.
Absolutely, and that's what we're there for, especially if you're looking for work in Florida. We're here to help.
Well, it sounds like you've got all the tools working to make Florida compete in the 21st century. So thank you for everything you do, Director Proctor.
Absolutely.
And thanks for joining us on the program.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks. That's all the time we have for today's Capital Dateline. Tune in to us on our Facebook page at Capital Dateline Online, or follow us at our Twitter feed at the FCTA. Thanks for tuning in.